Pain needs no introduction. We're all too familiar with its presence in our lives. I may not know all of you who are watching this coffee and conversation video, but I do know that there is something we all have in common. We've all experienced pain. Let me tell you, pain is a pain. We don't want to experience it, but sometimes we can't avoid it. People experience everything from hurtful words spoken to them to many forms of abuse. Divorce is a common thing in our society, and that's an extremely painful thing to go through. Oh, my heart breaks when I hear stories of child abuse. And then there's things like job loss, financial difficulty, addiction, sickness, and the death of a loved one. Those can also be sources of immense pain. Everyone knows what the sensation of pain is, but dealing with it is not that simple. So what do we do with all this pain? Well, one thing that we shouldn't do is ignore it. Some people think that if you ignore it, it'll just go away, but that doesn't work. It'll end like the story of the man who had fallen out of the window on the 20th floor of a tall building. As he passed the floors, he was heard mumbling to himself, "I'm okay so far, I'm okay so far, I'm okay so far." But eventually he's going to crash. And the same is true in our lives. There's only so long one can go on ignoring the pain before it catches up to you. Another thing that we shouldn't do is cover it up. My pain reliever of choice was food. Now, many people use substances like drugs and alcohol. Some people turn to material things like shopping and accumulating stuff to ease the pain. Others bury themselves in work or relationships or television or the internet. But covering it up just doesn't work. So what works? Well, there's no simple answer, but we do know that pain is an indicator that something is wrong. We have to allow ourselves to feel the pain, grieve the losses, and forgive those who have hurt us, and also permit God to shine His light on the source. I silently lived in pain for many years, afraid to let anyone know what I was going through. I was afraid of what people might think of me. But I've learned it's important to reach out for help. We need one another, so don't suffer alone in your pain. Honest prayer can also help. I love the Psalms because of the writer's honesty with God. When you read the Psalms, you see candid, straightforward prayer that expresses how the writer was feeling. One of my favorites is Psalm 69. The psalm writer says, "Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck. I sink in the miry depths where there is no foothold. I have come into the deep waters. The floods engulf me. I'm worn out for calling for help. My throat is parched. My eyes fail looking for my God." You know, I've prayed prayers like that. I've sobbed and cried and called out to God for help. I've told Him in less than pretty terms how I was feeling. You see, I knew that the only person who could fully understand what I was going through was God. And I went to Him honestly. And I know I went to the right person because it helped. Pray honestly and know that you are not alone. Now, when I was a little girl, my dad suffered from arthritis. And I can remember how his hands, they would swell and become inflamed. He could hardly move them. And he would say to me, "Connie, come here. Just look at my hands. Can you see the pain?" And I would look at his swollen red hands and say, "Yes, Dad, I can see the pain. It really looks bad." And he would say, "No, really, can you see the pain?" And I would say, "Yes, Dad, I see it." And somehow that would make him feel better to know that someone could see the pain. And you know, as I look at people in our church and our world, I can see the pain. And I want you to know that God sees your pain. God knows what you're going through and He wants to help you. So if you're in pain today, don't ignore it. Don't cover it up. Acknowledge it. Be honest with God about it and reach out to someone you trust for help. I want to thank you for joining me. Take care, stay safe, and let your light shine.